You haven't tried to release me? Chasing after me?
Daisy, I need you to go somewhere safe if you can run up to somebody's house. Where are you at right now? Are you getting able to do it?
Don't you? Help me.
Every suspect accused of a crime has the right to remain silent. Many agree to be interrogated anyway, but they can stop the interview at any moment, making it a race against time. Justice hangs in the balance.
On Christmas Day 2019, the Metro Police Department were contacted pertaining to a missing person, Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon was 25 years old. His parents report him missing because he had not shown up for Christmas brunch. And they indicated that this was very out of character. His parents said that Kevin's roommate had told him that Kevin was last seen in his residence the day before, at approximately 5:22. And she had said that Kevin sent her a text at about 6:12 p.m. stating that he was going to be out late. He had met a person on a dating app, and he was going to meet up with that person to have some fun. But now he was nowhere to be found.
I knew something was wrong because no one could get a hold of him. I just remember that whole calling his phone and hoping that there was going to be an answer. And unfortunately, there never was.
So after Kevin's parents contacted the police, they began their own search. They drove around the area and they discovered Kevin's vehicle in a parking lot. Police are notified and they respond.
What was odd is that everything that Kevin was known to have been wearing when his roommate had last seen him was in the car. His cell phone was in the car, his wallet, keys, everything except for Kevin.
At that point, we're thinking, this is highly unusual. Why are Kevin's clothes in the vehicle?
Did he disappear willingly, or is there foul play? We didn't have enough to know if a crime had been committed.
Something I always admired about Kevin is he was never afraid to express himself. He was not afraid to be this big, bald man with a pink polo and a purse and his nails done.
Kevin was just one of my truest, closest friends that I ever had. He was just very vibrant, and he always had an opinion about everything.
When I first met Kevin, his major was psychology. He would spread awareness about important topics like the LGBTQ community and sexual violence prevention. His passion was helping people.
So Kevin's phone was handed over to the Michigan State Police Computer Crimes Lab. And on the phone, they found a chat log from a mobile dating app.
There was one person in particular that Kevin had been communicating with.
They were looking to have a date and have a consensual sexual encounter.
There was banter back and forth about where they were going to meet. And it did suggest that he was going to pick Kevin up and transport him back to his home.
And they were able to identify that it was a resident in Michigan, Mark Latunsky. We learned he was a 50-year-old divorced male. He was known to run different online sex forums, almost like a male escort type scenario.
Lutonsky had invited men over to his residence in October and November. Each of them dialed 911, claiming that they were in some sort of state of panic.
Pulaski County 911.
I want to get away from some creepy guy. Gang type in basement.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm trying to escape from some guy who had me chained up in his basement.
He had you chained in his basement? Where are you calling from?
I don't know. I am on this road.
Are you on?
From here.
Okay, hold on one second. Hold on one
I don't
second.
even have shoes on. Chase after me.
Hey, Z, I need you to go somewhere safe. If you can run up to somebody's house. Where are you at right now? Are you able to get away?
Help me. Help me.
The state police had gone out and investigated the incidents, and they both had similar stories.
Police learned that the men were there for consensual sexual encounters and role-playing, but it became a little too intense at that time, causing the men to flee his residence. Once law enforcement contacted them, those men decided that they didn't want to pursue charges.
At this point, Mark Lutonsky was a person of interest. Definitely a lot of red flags were there. We needed to go out and talk to Mark Lutonsky at the house to see what kind of information he would be willing to give.
I remember there being some lights on. We just made a silent approach. We knocked. Mark Lutonsky answered, and we explained to him we were investigating a missing persons complaint with Kevin Bacon, asked consent to search the house, and Mark Lutonsky granted it. Me and one of the other officers remained with Mr. Lutonsky, just conversating with him. While they were searching the home, Mark appeared very calm and collected, not nervous whatsoever. His Christmas tree was still up. We were talking about that.
The troopers searched the upstairs of the residence. They didn't find anybody there. Then they went downstairs into the basement.
And I just hear my partner exclaim, "Oh my God, oh my God." I make my way to the top of the stairwell while Lutonsky was still with the other officer. I see my partner. Just absolutely all the life looked like it had been sucked out of my partner. He was just as white as a ghost. And he told me, "Lock him up." I didn't ask any questions. I went and immediately placed him in handcuffs and exhaled deeply and said, "You're making a mistake." And that was all.
28. Can we get some sort of update for EMS?
Central, this is most likely a kitty. We're going to treat this homicide.
When I arrived on scene, we were taken to a secluded room on the north side of the house. The room had a sliding barn door that only locked from the outside. So if the searching officers were not really thorough, it very easily could have been missed.
I remember thinking to myself, what in the world are we looking at?
The body was found at the far end of that room. He was nude, and he was hanging from his feet by the ceiling of the basement. There was a trap door that had opened, exposing sand and dirt. And there was a dried pool of blood directly below the body.
He'd been hanging there for a while, but initially, we couldn't see the injuries that he had.
The victim had lots of tattoos on his body, so we matched the tattoos and hair to the missing person flyer, and that was how they identified Kevin.
It was just completely evil. I mean, who could have done that to somebody?
Driver's seat, you can at least talk to him, but don't talk to him about anything. Don't talk to him about anything.
I was tasked just to watch over him for the time being and listened if he decides to talk on his own, make any unsolicited statements to me.
Nothing happens here in Shiawassee. Yeah, you heard that one? I heard that one. they're gonna make sure that my dog is okay, right?
Yeah, I'll make sure your dog's fine.
Okay. Hey, Mark, there. Mark, I'm Sergeant Berdan, State Police, okay? Do you know what's going on? Do you know why you're in the back of this car? Yes, I know why I'm in the back of this car. My detective in route, my detective's probably gonna want to talk to you, okay? So, That's fine. okay. All right, I just wanted to let you know. And then once I talk to him, how am I going to get back home?
Well, let's get stage one first, okay? Let's get the detective out here.
Absolutely.
It was just bizarre because he didn't act like someone that had just killed somebody. I thought maybe it wasn't Mark Lutunsky. Maybe someone else killed Kevin.
Kevin was very outgoing. He always said what he felt. If you wanted to ask if your hair looked good that day, he would tell you yes or no, and you would know it would be honest. And I love that. Every week he would come over and we would all watch RuPaul's Drag Race together. And we actually went to a drag pageant together once too. That was so much fun. He was really good about supporting local LGBTQ efforts.
I can explain to him all the things that you guys don't know.
Okay.
And then I can come back home.
Yeah, because we want to know your side of the story, okay?
Absolutely.
The stakes are, this is a highly unusual crime scene. I have no idea what happened. Time is ticking. I don't know if Mark is going to want to continue to wait and be cooperative if I make him wait too long.
Come on.
We don't know if it was premeditated, if it was a sexual encounter gone wrong, whether there's heat of passion. Was there anybody else involved?
All right, it's the detachment. The dirt sheet is going to follow us. So just take 52 back. Where's 52? Is 52 back that way? No, 52 is, you're going to come out the driveway and go left. Did Athena get moved back inside, or? She sure did. She's a precious little thing. Isn't she, though? She is. Go straight. Go straight then, Mark? Yeah, okay.
It was just an odd scene, odd situation. He was comfortable. He was casual. He didn't act like the dead body is found in the house. So the strategy was to just get him talking. But I remember thinking, we can't even get his name out. How are we going to get the story of what happened to Kevin?
However, all of the people that I grew up with knew that I'm not Mark David Lutunsky, and they just failed to tell me.
He was trying to direct the interview. So I sat back, I gave him control of the room. I wanted him to trust me. I didn't want him to shut down.
Okay. So what is the name that you prefer or that you use?
The name that I go by is Olykos.
How do you spell it?
Olykos.
Okay.
And when I hear the name Mark Lutunsky, I know that somebody's talking garbage. It's not real.
Okay, Olykos.
So,
all right.
He briefly glanced at me, I think almost in a surprised fashion. I feel calling him by Olykos, which was a vanity name, was showing him respect, is gaining his trust in me, and I'm trying to maximize that.
So, obviously, police came to your house, they were doing a welfare check. But before I go into that, what do you do for a living?
Well, right now I'm just doing construction, working on building the house, picking up odd jobs. And then I put an ad on Rentman, and man, if I can get a massage and somebody's gonna pay me to rub him down, fine.
Like massages?
No, just massages. You know, it's like, you know what? I'll spend time with you. You know, man, can't guarantee sex, but you want to spend your time with me? Boom.
So at that point, I felt I had earned enough trust, and that was the perfect segue for me to discuss Kevin Bacon.
I know, I got tired of
That's all right. I want to go back over to Kevin. So you initially start talking with Kevin. Did you meet him on?
I think that one was Grindr. Obviously, the name that he'd used, and I didn't know whether it was his real name, a fake name, or what, because that's so common, particularly with anyone in the fetish arena. But no matter, we chatted for a while. He described the things that he wanted. I did what I could to bring those things about.
When did he come to your house?
I picked him up. We physically met in Swartz Creek.
On what day?
Well, that would be the 24th.
Okay, on 12/24, Christmas
Yes.
Eve. Okay.
It was Christmas Eve.
And then,
Was that the first time that you've ever met him in person?
That's the first time I ever met him. I had chatted with him.
Well, that was all the parking lot.
That was all still in the parking lot. So I sat in the front, and he went in the back and put on the different gear that he wanted, that he had selected. He wanted to make sure that he was comfortable and that he was living out a fetish fantasy.
I picture Kevin is in some sort of outfit.
He had on, he had on the handcuffs, he had earmuffs, and then blinders, and then he had on the leather wrist and ankle straps, and that was it.
He said that Kevin decided to wear all of those items from the parking lot to Mark's residence, and that Kevin's clothes were left in the vehicle.
And then I left the parking lot, and then we went back to the house.
So that kind of leads me into, I guess, what is going on with why we're here, the welfare check, you let the troopers go in and graciously search your house, and they see a man that's hanging from the ceiling. Who is that man?
Well, I actually never used his name.
I felt a lot of pressure. Kevin's dead. He's got a family. They're going to want answers. I don't have them at all. I just broadly asked him who was the man in the basement and left it open-ended and let him kind of direct his thought process.
You don't know how many times I have, and it brings me to tears a little bit because, you talk to him and you realize how a person's life goes. You know what? In talking about this, I've never done this. I still have never done this before.
Because what did you?
We chatted for a while. He described the things that he wanted, and we made the agreement. And he was supposed to disappear, be gone. Does our society really allow that? No. And what it leaves behind is all kinds of I'm going to say things for his family that a man doesn't want to leave.
He was framing the agreement as Kevin wanted to die, that it was an assisted suicide. They had conversations about how he could die and what would happen after he died.
I felt, he's murdered this person, and now he's certainly distancing himself.
And then what did you do?
After talking to him in multiple ways, that was when he laid out, he says, I'm ready. And I says, well, I could slit your throat. Here's the knife, I could do it that way. And I couldn't do it. I said, I don't know if that would be painless. And we debated it, all of the different ways. I said, I have a sword upstairs, but it wouldn't work. I was afraid I would hurt him. And he said, just get the sword. And I'm not ready. I couldn't do that. I couldn't run the risk of maiming him and having him suffer. And after we debated it, I said, you know what? I think that given what we've got right here, if I just take the knife and put it through your spine, that will do it. And I handed him the knife so that he could handle it. That it was there. It's like, this is what it is. And he looked at it, and we laid together for a while. He asked me to. I did. I'm sorry, I should do what? Just lay with him. Just lay with him. Just lay with him and hold him. And finally, he says, you know what? I'm ready. I said, you know what? You say whatever you want to say. And finally, he leaned over and he put his head on the side and he says, go ahead and do it. And I did. And he says, I don't feel anything. And, I'm on that side because he's laying on the floor and, there was a fair amount of blood. And, then it's like, and he said a few more words. And he says, and he was starting to, and that was when I realized it wasn't enough. And so I just went, I went right to her.
So when did you end his suffering? Was he hanging or was he on the ground when you did his throat?
He was on the ground, and that was, and then of course it was a matter of doing what I needed to do to complete what I told him I would do. Turn him into something that would produce life.
For Mark to just openly say, I plunged the knife into his spine on his own, that was huge.
We're going to get justice for Kevin and his family, and as horrible as this is, maybe that'll help give them a little bit of closure.
Where's the knife now?
It is upstairs in Guy Plains Loft, and it is upstairs in the dresser drawer. I think on the right-hand side, top.
Is it like a kitchen knife? Is it, you know what I'm saying?
No, it's just a hunter's knife.
It's a hunter's knife. What color is it?
It has a black and gray handle.
Okay.
My stomach's upset. I gotta use the restroom. I got an upset stomach. Keep talking. I'll be right back. looking back, that probably was a terrible excuse, but I had to get out of there. When I called the detective on scene and explained to him the description of the knife, there was a little bit of a waiting period as they walked up the stairs to the bedroom, and sure enough, the detectives found that knife. You could still see it had some dry blood on it. And it was a sense of relief, because now we've got the murder weapon.
I don't feel that I did anything wrong.
Did you tell anybody else about this? Other than us?
I did. If you have an honorable death, then you have to tell somebody. I said, the police have a problem with it. Then what? They throw me in jail.
It sounds honorable.
You're talking to someone that's done a horrific thing. But I was trying to play into what he thought was good and honorable and normal. And it seemed to work. He seemed a little bit more at ease with us.
I actually texted a friend. I killed Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon is my hero.
Did you do this by yourself? You didn't have help?
I did it all by myself. I mean, it was during that evening, and then after he was, and I don't know, it's just flat out fact, is that after he was dead, he was hanging, I was done for the night, and it was then that I started to do what I told him I was going to do. It was the new moon, and in honoring my word to what I said I would do, that was when I took his, I cut them out, and I took them upstairs and I ate them.
Kevin decided to enroll in beauty school, and that was a big deal because he was already going to college. We definitely did fry my hair off one time, but I think we've all been there and made that mistake.
Doing hair definitely was a great creative outlet for him. He would actually come to my house and do my hair. I remember having conversations about what he wanted to do beyond graduation. I think he was really considering a different scenery, a landscape, a bigger city. I know that he had visited one of our mutual friends in Chicago. They went out to a bunch of places that were LGBTQ friendly, and he really, really loved it. So he came back really wanting to move to Chicago after that particular visit.
Was that his wishes? Is that the main reason why you did it?
It was the discussion, like wherever, whatever is consumable is consumable. I will eat you, and he says, okay.
Definitely wasn't prepared for that. Fortunately, I was able to keep my composure for the most part, but I think my stomach was turning right about that time.
So then at what point, how long after that did you cut his testicles off and take those upstairs?
That was, it was before I went to bed, because at that point, I stayed with them for quite a while. And that was very important. I says, you will not die alone. I says, I won't.
And that, to me, as an outsider looking in, that shows me the type of person you are.
I said, I won't do that.
Absolutely.
I said,
you're a man of your word.
Regardless of what it is, I won't let you die alone.
Yeah.
And
that's very standout of you. Not a lot of people would do that.
It wasn't me. And
if you don't mind, I was just curious of how did you do that? Did you cook them? Did you? Where did you do that?
It was the griddle, I eat Rocky Mountain oysters anyway.
Sure.
I have a carton of them that I had bought, and so it's really very simple. You slice them thin, you saute them with some Worcestershire sauce, and once they're done, you just eat them. The other mean, I said, not knowing, just so that I could continue to process the way and do what he wanted me to do.
So you would have taken more of his body and put it in the dehydrator?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
After Mark had provided us all of the graphic details of what he did to Kevin, it kind of dawned on me that this may not be Mark's only victim that he killed. And the fact that he was able to show no remorse, try to justify it, that it was honorable, to me, he's one of the most dangerous people I've ever come in contact with. And once he's in jail, I probably won't get to speak to him ever again. So I wanted to make sure then that I switched tactics and try to figure out if Kevin was his only victim.
So that leads me to a question that, and again, I appreciate your honesty. I can't make it up.
I'm looking at it, I'm saying, that's just what it is.
And again, that proves to me the type of person you are. The honesty and that
It's not a matter of, some people would say, okay. I think some people would say, not okay. But,
so has this ever happened before?
Have you ever been requested in the past to do something that you did to Kevin, where they were down, or they wanted to end their life? Have you ever assisted me?
No, there have been people who have hinted at it.
Okay.
That I've shied away from it for obvious reasons.
You've never assisted anybody with these type of wishes or eating anybody else's testicles or any other part of body?
No. And I told him that as well. I've never done that. I've never done it.
There came a point in time when I needed to confront him. I was aware of the two other men that had fled his house. Now I have to start putting my cards on the table. I know more than you think I do.
So I'm because you've been honest with us, and because I appreciate that. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to sit back and visualize how this all played out. And with your demeanor, you're so calm. And I'm just wondering, is this really the only person that this has happened with?
You're completely wrong.
Okay. Back in November, the troopers came out because there was somebody who ran from your house.
He was hanging from my
What I'm saying is, if that was a consensual act, at what point or what caused him to flee leads me to believe that Kevin isn't the only one.
Fair enough. And this is what I will say. I mean, this doesn't offend you. I mean,
no, it doesn't. I'm a grown man.
Okay. He was playing along very well until he got me to him. I had no problem with that.
But didn't he go there wanting a sexual encounter with you? So then why would he freak out?
I don't know.
He wasn't aggressive. He wasn't demeaning. I actually believed him to an extent. I feel his reaction would have been different had there been other victims.
Are they playing it? Was it enough? Who knows? Am I going to be able to go back home and take care of the dog, or do you know, or what?
I'd like to take pictures of your hands and your forearms. Just get photographs, okay?
Well, at this point, we are going to put you back in that cell there. And under the circumstances, you're going to be going to jail tonight until, so we can figure out exactly what the prosecutor wants to do. All right?
At that point, I have have nothing left to speak about with Mark. I felt that I had everything that I could give to the prosecutor pertaining to his interview and interrogation. So I entered the interview.
Initially, he was charged with open murder, which allows the jury to decide which degree of murder. We believed that there definitely was premeditated. This definitely was part of an elaborate plan to become a cannibal.
We'll take you over to the Shiawassee County Jail.
You know that the prosecuting attorney here doesn't like me.
He was disappointed that he wasn't going home. He thought he would be exonerated. How can a human do this to another human and not have an ounce of regret or remorse?
After the interview with Mark, and still having the lingering questions of are there other victims of Mark, I then reached out to the FBI. The FBI didn't think he had killed before, but potentially had the capacity to have had other victims if he was not caught.
We're extremely fortunate he got the taste of death, and had he gone undetected, we probably would have been looking at a serial killer.
This is one of the most brutal, horrific murders I've seen not only in this county, but in the state.
At that time, Kevin was turning his life around. He made plans. He had some future plans.
Bacon's family says their prayers were answered with the first-degree murder charge. As for their son's tragic death, it is something they struggle to live with every day.
I think about him every day. Yeah, he's always in my thoughts.
Mark was under the impression that he could convince us that what he did was Kevin wanted, but yet we had learned from the text messages Kevin didn't want to die. Kevin by no means wanted this to happen.
I think it was justice for Kevin, and my heart goes out to the family. They can never get their son back, but at least we know that Mr. Lutunsky will never be out on the streets again.
As someone who works with survivors of sexual violence, I think it's really important that we never victim blame. It was not Kevin's fault that this happened. We can do everything right and protect ourselves in the best ways possible, but at the end of the day, it is the perpetrator who caused that to happen.
Still to this day, it's hard. Sometimes I feel like it's not real, and I just want everyone to think of rainbows when they think about Kevin, because that's what he was.